The grainy security footage that surfaced on social media showed what started as a regular Friday night at Lenox Square Mall in Atlanta. The date was September 15th, 2023, and the mall was packed with its usual weekend crowd. Tanya Williams, a bright 16-year-old student from South Atlanta High School, had gone shopping with her friends after their school's football game. No one could have predicted how this normal teenage outing would turn into a viral story that would shake Atlanta to its core. The security footage timestamp showed 9:47 p.m. Tanya, wearing her favorite purple hoodie and jeans, was seen at the food court with her two best friends, Keisha Johnson and Marcus Thompson. They were laughing, sharing fries, and taking selfies, typical teenage behavior that would later become crucial evidence. At 9:52 p.m., the first sign of trouble appeared. The camera caught Tanya suddenly grabbing her head, looking disoriented. Her friends' faces showed immediate concern. What they didn't know was that Tanya had an undiagnosed medical condition that was about to change everything. Officer James Cooper, a 12-year veteran of the Atlanta Police Department, was working his regular security detail at the mall that night. His body camera was active, providing another angle to what would unfold. Cooper was 34, with a clean record and several commendations for community service. Until that night, he had never made headlines. At 9:55 p.m., Tanya collapsed. The next 3 minutes would be replayed millions of times across social media platforms, news channels, and in courtrooms. Those 3 minutes would spark protests, end careers, and force Atlanta to confront some uncomfortable truths about power, protection, and prejudice. But what really happened in those 3 minutes? Why did Officer Cooper do what he did? And most importantly, what happened next that nobody saw coming? To understand this story, we need to go back 6 months before that fateful night, when Officer Cooper made a decision that would later connect to everything. March 2023. The Atlanta Police Department was rolling out a new community health training program. Officer James Cooper sat in the briefing room with 30 other officers, learning about medical emergencies and proper response protocols. Remember, the instructor emphasized, in a medical emergency, seconds count, especially with young people. You might be first on scene before EMTs arrive. Cooper took detailed notes that day. He'd seen too many incidents go wrong because officers weren't prepared for medical emergencies. Growing up in East Atlanta, he'd watched his own sister struggle with seizures. Maybe that's why he paid extra attention during the medical response training. What he didn't know was that this training would later put him at the center of a social media storm. That same month, across town, Tanya Williams was living her best life. A junior at South Atlanta High, she was on the honor roll, played volleyball, and had just started a YouTube channel about teen life in Atlanta. Her mother, Diana Williams, worked 2 jobs, days as a nurse at Grady Memorial Hospital and evenings at a local clinic. "Baby, you need to tell me if those headaches keep getting worse," Diana told Tanya one morning, noticing her daughter squinting at her phone. "Mom, they're just stress headaches. Finals are coming up," Tanya replied, brushing it off like most teenagers would. But they weren't just stress headaches. April came, and Officer Cooper started his new assignment at Lenox Square Mall. The mall had been dealing with increased incidents involving teenagers, especially on weekend nights. Cooper's approach was different from other officers. He talked to the kids, learned their names, tried to understand their world. "Officer Coop is cool," the teens would say. "He doesn't just kick us out like the others." May brought Tanya's first serious headache episode at school. She was in chemistry class when the room started spinning. Her friend Keisha helped her to the nurse's office. "It's probably dehydration," the school nurse said, giving her water and calling her mom. Diana Williams wanted to take Tanya to a specialist, but their insurance was giving them problems. They scheduled an appointment for October. Too late, as it would turn out. Summer passed. Officer Cooper became a familiar face at the mall. He broke up a few fights, helped find lost kids, and even started an informal basketball league for local teens, trying to give them something positive to do on Friday nights. Then came September 15th. That morning, Tanya posted her last TikTok video. She was dancing with Keisha, both in their South Atlanta High spirit wear. The caption read, "Ready for tonight's game? Then mall time with my besties. The video would later go viral, but for all the wrong reasons. At 7:30 p.m., South Atlanta High won their football game against their rivals. Tanya, Keisha, and Marcus celebrated by heading to Lenox Square Mall. They had no idea they were walking into what would become one of Atlanta's controversial incidents of 2023. 9:45 p.m., Tanya sent her last text to her mom. Having fun. Be home by 11. Love you. 7 minutes later, everything changed. 9:50 p.m. The food court security camera showed Tanya, Keisha, and Marcus sharing a large order of fries from Five Guys. The footage quality was decent enough to see Tanya repeatedly touching her forehead. "Girl, you okay?" Keisha asked, noticing Tanya's hand shaking as she reached for another fry. "Just feeling weird," Tanya mumbled. Her words started slurring. "The lights, they're too bright." Marcus pulled out his phone and started recording, thinking Tanya was joking around. This cell phone footage would later become crucial evidence. 9:52 p.m. Officer Cooper was doing his regular walkthrough near Forever 21 when his radio crackled. Possible disturbance in the food court. The security footage showed him walking calmly toward the food court. He'd handled dozens of teenage situations before, usually just kids being too loud or horseplaying. Nothing major. But this was different. Tanya stood up suddenly, knocking over her drink. I can't, she started saying, her voice rising. Other mall shoppers turned to look. Keisha grabbed Tanya's arm. What's wrong, Tanya? Marcus was still recording, his face now showing real concern. His phone captured what happened next in crystal clear detail. 9:54 p.m. Tanya's eyes rolled back. Her body went stiff. Tanya, Keisha screamed. Tanya Williams collapsed, her head nearly hitting the table as she fell. Officer Cooper was 30 feet away when he heard the scream. The body cam footage showed him breaking into a run. 9:55 p.m. This was the moment that would be freeze-framed, analyzed, and shared millions of times. Officer Cooper reached Tanya as a crowd started forming. His body cam recorded his words. Everyone back up. Give her space. Keisha was crying. Marcus had dropped his phone, but it was still recording from the floor, capturing a low angle of what happened next. Officer Cooper knelt beside Tanya. She was unconscious, her body starting to jerk rhythmically. Years later, medical experts would explain she was having a grand mal seizure, but at that moment, nobody knew. Then came the controversial moment. Officer Cooper reached out and touched Tanya's face, then her neck. His body cam picked up his words. Checking vitals, dispatch, I need emergency medical. But social media wouldn't hear those words. Social media would only see a white police officer touching an unconscious black teenage girl. 9:56 p.m. Someone in the crowd yelled, "What are you doing to her?" Another voice, "Don't touch her." Marcus's phone kept recording. Officer Cooper's actions in the next 60 seconds would either save Tanya's life or end his career. Maybe both. And somewhere in the mall, another camera was recording everything. Footage that wouldn't surface until weeks later. Footage that would change the entire narrative. 9:56 p.m. Officer Cooper's body camera caught every detail. Tanya's body was convulsing, a sight he recognized from his sister's seizures. His training kicked in. She's having a seizure, he announced clearly. I need everyone to stay back. But the crowd was growing. Cell phones pointed at them from every direction. Someone started a Facebook live stream. Marcus's phone, still recording from the ground, captured Cooper's next moves. He quickly took off his jacket and placed it under Tanya's head. Then he turned her onto her side, the recovery position he'd learned in training. Don't restrain her, he said to Keisha, who was trying to hold Tanya's arms. Let the seizure run its course. 9:57 p.m. The social media storm was already brewing. The first tweet went out, "Cop manhandling unconscious black girl at Lenox Mall, Atlanta police, what the hell?" The video showing only Cooper touching Tanya without context started spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Cooper stayed focused. His body cam recorded him speaking calmly to dispatch. I need EMS priority response. Teenage female active seizure, approximately 2 minutes duration. 9:58 p.m. Tanya's convulsions began to slow. Cooper checked his watch, timing the seizure like he'd been trained. He noticed something else, a medical alert bracelet on Tanya's wrist. He hadn't seen it before. Does anyone know if she has a medical condition? Cooper asked. Keisha, still crying, shook her head. She's been having headaches, but nothing like this. 9:59 p.m. Mall security finally arrived, helping to control the growing crowd. But the damage was done. Dozens of partial videos were already circulating, most starting at the moment Cooper touched Tanya, none showing the full context. 10 p.m. Tanya's seizure stopped. She remained unconscious, but her breathing was steady. Cooper's body cam recorded him speaking softly. "You're gonna be okay, help is coming." Then something unexpected happened. As Cooper checked Tanya's breathing again, his hand brushed against a small lump behind her ear. His expression changed, something only the body camera caught. 10:01 p.m. The mall's security footage showed EMS rushing in with a stretcher. Among them was a familiar face, Sarah Martinez, a paramedic who had worked with Cooper before. "What have we got?" Martinez asked professionally. "Seizure, about 3 minutes duration," Cooper reported. "But there's something else." Before he could finish, Tanya's eyes fluttered open. She looked confused, scared. "Where? What happened?" she mumbled. The crowd's phones caught her first words, but they also caught something else. Officer Cooper's gentle response. "You're safe. You had a seizure. These paramedics are going to take good care of you." 10:02 p.m. As EMS loaded Tanya onto the stretcher, Cooper pulled Martinez aside. The mall's security camera caught them in serious conversation, Cooper pointing to his own head behind his ear. What he told her would change everything. But that conversation wouldn't become public for another week. By 10:05 p.m., Tanya was on her way to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officer Cooper stayed behind to file his report. His body cam was still rolling. Neither of them knew that Cop Touches Unconscious Girl was already trending on Twitter, or that their lives were about to become the center of Atlanta's biggest controversy of the year. 10:30 p.m. The first viral video hit 100,000 views on Twitter. It was a 15-second clip showing only Officer Cooper touching Tanya, with no context about the seizure. The caption read, "ATL cop caught touching unconscious black teen girl at Lenox Mall. RT until they can't ignore this." Diana Williams was finishing her shift at the clinic when her phone started blowing up. First came the call from the hospital about Tanya. Then the text messages started pouring in with the viral video. "Is this your daughter? OMG Diana, check Twitter. Have you seen what's happening?" By 11 p.m., 3 different hashtags were trending in Atlanta. Justice for Tanya, Lenox Mall cop, Atlanta cop scandal. Marcus's full video, showing the entire incident, including Tanya's seizure, was on his phone. But in his panic and rush to the hospital, he hadn't posted it yet. He was sitting in the hospital waiting room with Keisha, both too worried about their friend to check social media. Meanwhile, at the mall, Officer Cooper was finishing his incident report when his sergeant called. "Cooper, you better get down to the station. This thing's blowing up online." 11:30 p.m. Local news stations picked up the story. The headlines were already written. Controversy at Lenox Mall. Officers' actions questioned. Viral video shows concerning police interaction with unconscious teen. Atlanta community demands answers. But none of them had the full story yet. None of them knew about what Cooper had found behind Tanya's ear, or why he'd pulled paramedic Martinez aside. At Grady Memorial Hospital, doctors were making a discovery that would turn the whole narrative on its head. Midnight. The Atlanta Police Department released their first statement. "We are aware of the video circulating on social media regarding an incident at Lenox Square Mall. The officer involved has been placed on administrative duty pending investigation. We take all concerns about officer conduct seriously." This standard response only fueled the fire. 12:30 a.m., September 16th. Protesters started gathering outside the mall, even though it was closed. Live streamers interviewed witnesses who'd been in the food court, each telling slightly different versions of what they'd seen. One TikTok user posted, "Y'all aren't ready for the truth about what really happened at Lenox tonight. This story isn't what you think. #wait for it." But her follow-up video explaining the full context got buried under the avalanche of outrage. Officer Cooper sat in the station, watching the social media storm explode. His sergeant reviewed his body cam footage. "This isn't good, James," the sergeant said. "Even with context, you know how this looks." Cooper nodded, then said something that would later prove prophetic. "Sir, That girl's life was in danger, and not just from the seizure. What do you mean? Before Cooper could answer, dispatch called. There was a situation developing outside the mall. The protesters' numbers had grown to over 100, and in the hospital, Tanya Williams was about to wake up and tell her mother something that would change everything. 2:15 a.m., September 16th, Grady Memorial Hospital, room 407. Tanya Williams opened her eyes to find her mother Diana holding her hand. The room was dim, but she could make out the worried faces of Keisha and Marcus in the corner. "Baby, how are you feeling?" Diana asked, squeezing her daughter's hand. "My head." Tanya touched the spot behind her ear. "It feels different. The pressure, it's gone." Dr. Sarah Chen entered the room holding a tablet with Tanya's brain scan results. What they showed would turn this social media firestorm on its head. "Mrs. Williams," Dr. Chen said quietly, "we need to talk about what we found." Meanwhile, across town, Officer Cooper was sitting in a late-night meeting with Internal Affairs. His body cam footage played on a screen behind him. "Walk us through why you touched her face and neck," the investigator asked. "I was checking her vital signs," Cooper explained. "But then I felt something that didn't seem right. A small lump behind her ear. Given her age and the sudden seizure, I knew it could be serious." "That's why you spoke to the paramedic?" "Yes, my sister." Cooper paused, collecting himself. "My sister had a brain tumor when we were kids. Started with headaches, then seizures. The symptoms were identical." Back at the hospital, Dr. Chen was showing Diana and Tanya the scan results. "This mass," she pointed to a spot on the image, "is what caused your seizure. It's called a meningioma, a type of brain tumor. Usually benign, but in this location, very dangerous if left untreated. The officer's quick response in getting you emergency care, he quite possibly saved your life." 3 a.m. Marcus finally checked his phone. His eyes widened at the thousands of notifications. The protest outside Lenox Mall had grown to nearly 300 people. "I gotta post the whole video," he said suddenly. "They're getting it all wrong." He uploaded his complete footage to YouTube. The seizure, Cooper's immediate medical response, his careful handling of Tanya, everything. But the internet had already decided its version of the story. 3:30 a.m. Tanya's phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "This is Officer Cooper's daughter, Emily. My dad can't contact you directly because of the investigation, but he wanted you to know he recognized the symptoms because of my aunt, his sister. She survived her brain tumor because someone noticed the signs early. He said to tell you to stay strong." 4 a.m. Diana Williams made a decision. She called the local news station that had been trying to reach her for hours. "I'm ready to talk," she said, "but you need to hear the whole story. That officer, he didn't do anything wrong. He saved my baby's life." The producer's response was immediate. "Mrs. Williams, can we send a crew now? This changes everything." But before Diana could tell her story, another video surfaced. Security footage from a different angle, showing something nobody had noticed in the chaos of the moment. Something that would reveal an even bigger truth about that night at Lenox Mall. 4:30 a.m., September 16th, the Atlanta news station's editing room. A young security guard named Tyler Jackson had just finished his shift at Lenox Mall when he decided to come forward. He brought with him footage from a camera angle nobody had seen yet, one facing the food court from the second floor. "People need to see what happened before the officer arrived," Tyler told the news director. "There's something nobody's talking about." The footage started at 9:45 p.m., 7 minutes before Tanya's collapse. In the background, barely noticeable, two men in hoodies were watching Tanya's table. One kept checking his phone, the other nervously looking around. 5 a.m. The morning news team reviewed the footage. "Stop right there," the producer said. "Zoom in on that guy's hand." The enhanced footage showed one of the men dropping something into a trash can just after Tanya collapsed, something that glinted under the mall lights. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Tanya was telling Dr. Chen about the strange man who had bumped into her earlier that evening. "It was weird," Tanya said. "He apologized, but then I felt a sharp pinch behind my ear. I thought maybe his watch scratched me." Dr. Chen's expression changed. She ordered additional blood tests immediately. 6 a.m. Officer Cooper was finally heading home when his phone rang. It was Sarah Martinez, the paramedic from the mall. "James, the talk screen just came back," she said urgently. This wasn't just a tumor causing that seizure. The truth was darker than anyone had imagined. 7 a.m. The local news morning show began with a breaking update. New developments in the Lenox Mall incident. Security footage reveals 2 suspicious individuals may have targeted the teenage victim. Sources say Officer James Cooper, initially criticized for his response, may have interrupted what investigators now believe was an attempted trafficking operation. The anchor continued. Medical reports confirm the presence of a sedative in the victim's system, apparently administered through a concealed needle when the suspect bumped into her. The seizure was triggered by the interaction between the drug and an undiagnosed brain tumor, a tumor the officer suspected based on his family history with similar medical conditions. Social media's tone began to shift. Officer Cooper Hero started trending. The real Lenox story took over Twitter. "We got it wrong" became the most shared phrase in Atlanta's online community. 8 a.m. Diana Williams sat down for her live interview, Tanya joining via video call from her hospital room. "That officer didn't just help my daughter during a medical emergency," Diana said, her voice strong. "His quick thinking and attention to detail exposed something much bigger. Those men who targeted my baby girl, they're still out there, and they've probably done this before." The interviewer leaned forward. "Can you elaborate on what you mean?" "The police found 5 more cases," Diana revealed. 5 other girls at different malls across Atlanta. But those girls weren't as lucky as Tanya. They disappeared. 9 a.m. September 16th, Atlanta Police Department headquarters. Detective Sarah Morris from the Human Trafficking Division stared at the evidence wall. 5 photos of missing teenage girls all disappeared from Atlanta area malls over the past 3 months, all matching the same pattern. "The bastards were hiding in plain sight," she muttered, adding Tanya's picture, the one that got away. The security footage from Lenox Mall played on a loop on her computer. The 2 men in hoodies had been caught on camera at 3 other malls where girls went missing. 10 a.m. Officer Cooper arrived at headquarters, looking exhausted. The protesters outside the mall had finally dispersed after the morning news broke the real story. "Cooper," Detective Morris called him over. "We need to talk about what you saw." His observation of the lump behind Tanya's ear hadn't just saved her from a medical emergency, it had exposed their method. The traffickers were using a new technique, microneedles containing sedatives disguised as casual bumps in crowded places. 11 a.m. At Grady Memorial, Dr. Chen was explaining to FBI agents how the combination of the sedative and Tanya's undiagnosed tumor had actually saved her life. "The tumor made her system react differently," she explained. "Instead of quietly passing out like their other victims, she had a seizure. It drew attention they didn't want." Meanwhile, Marcus's full video had gone viral in a completely different way. People were analyzing every frame, identifying the suspects in the background. 12 p.m. Local news stations interrupted regular programming. Breaking: FBI joins investigation into mall trafficking ring. Officer previously criticized is now credited with uncovering a major criminal operation. Social media exploded again, but differently. "Y'all see how quick we jumped to conclusions? Lesson learned. This is why context matters." The full story. Officer Cooper didn't just save one girl, he exposed a whole trafficking ring. Real hero. 1 p.m. Tanya's YouTube channel, previously flooded with hate comments, was now overwhelmed with support. She posted a short video from her hospital bed. "I want to thank Officer Cooper. Everyone assumed the worst when they saw him touch me, but he wasn't just checking my vital signs. He felt the injection site. He knew something wasn't right. His sister's brain tumor taught him what to look for, but his instincts as a cop told him there was more to the story." 2 p.m. The FBI released a public statement. "We are asking anyone who witnessed suspicious activity at Metro Atlanta malls in the past 3 months to come forward. We are particularly interested in incidents involving someone bumping into young women or teenagers in crowded areas." Tips started pouring in. Security footage from other malls was being reviewed. Patterns emerged, but the most shocking revelation was yet to come. 3 p.m. Detective Morris received a call from the FBI lab. The analysis of the sedative found in Tanya's system matched traces found in 3 other cases across the Southeast. This wasn't just an Atlanta problem. It was part of something much bigger. 4 p.m., September 16th, FBI Field Office, Atlanta. Special Agent Rachel Torres pinned another photo to the massive digital map display. Red dots marked confirmed trafficking attempts across 5 states. Yellow dots showed suspected cases. The pattern was clear and terrifying. They've been moving up and down the East Coast, she explained to the task force. Shopping malls, outlet centers, anywhere with crowds and easy exits. 5 p.m. Back at Grady Memorial, Tanya was scrolling through her phone when something caught her eye. A TikTok video from 2 months ago. A girl describing being bumped into at a mall in Charlotte. She'd felt dizzy afterward, but made it home. The video had been dismissed as paranoid at the time. Tanya immediately sent it to Detective Morris. 6 p.m. Officer Cooper sat in the conference room with FBI analysts, watching security footage from other malls. His sister Emily, a nurse, had joined them to help identify potential medical signatures of their method. There, Cooper pointed at the screen. Same movement. They bump, then reach up like they're adjusting their cap. That's when they check if the needle is connected. Emily added, the sedative they're using is sophisticated. Most victims would just feel tired, maybe blame it on shopping too long. Perfect cover. 7 p.m. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A mall maintenance worker in Virginia recognized one of the suspects from the news. He'd found something strange while cleaning last month, a small case of broken microneedles in the dumpster. He'd kept them, thinking they were medical waste that should be disposed of properly. Now those needles provided crucial DNA evidence. 8 p.m. Tanya received another visitor, Sarah Martinez, the paramedic from the night before. She had brought someone with her, a young woman named Jessica. I was almost taken 3 weeks ago, Jessica said quietly, from Cumberland Mall, but I had an allergic reaction to whatever they used. The paramedics thought it was just a panic attack. Her story helped fill in more gaps. 9 p.m. The FBI held a confidential briefing. The evidence pointed to an organized trafficking ring using sophisticated medical techniques. They'd identified key players. A former pharmaceutical researcher who developed the sedative Hepsmar, a network of spotters who selected targets, a complex transportation system moving victims across state lines. But the biggest shock came when they traced the needle manufacturing. 10 p.m. Detective Morris burst into the command center. The needles, she announced. They're coming from a legitimate medical supply company. Someone high up is involved. That's how they're getting the equipment and chemicals without raising flags. The investigation had just jumped from street level to corporate crime. 11 p.m. Tanya, unable to sleep, was helping identify potential victims through social media. Her post about her experience had gone viral in a new way, as a warning. Girls across the country were coming forward with similar stories. Each story is a piece of the puzzle, Agent Torres told her team. And it all started because a cop recognized a tumor that shouldn't have been there. Midnight, September 17th. One full day after Tanya's seizure at Lenox Mall. FBI teams across 6 states prepared for coordinated raids. The trafficking ring had been mapped, its key players identified through a combination of DNA evidence, security footage, and financial records. 1 a.m., Operation Mall Safe launched. Atlanta, 3 warehouses raided. Charlotte, a medical supply distribution center. Miami, a shipping company front. Virginia, corporate offices of Meditech Solutions. The scale of what they uncovered was staggering. 2 a.m. Detective Morris walked through one of the Atlanta warehouses, documenting everything. Hidden rooms, medical equipment, transportation manifests, evidence of dozens of victims. Some of them might still be alive, she told Agent Torres over the phone. We found records, shipping containers, destinations. 3 a.m. The first rescues began. SWAT teams breached locations in 3 countries simultaneously. 17 victims recovered in the first hour alone. More would follow. 4 a.m. At Grady Memorial, Tanya watched the news coverage with her mother. Tears streamed down their faces as the story unfolded. Each rescued girl represented someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone who might have disappeared forever. 5 a.m. The corporate connection broke. CEO of Meditech Solutions, Richard Hammond, was arrested at his Buckhead mansion. His company had been the perfect front, supplying medical equipment while hiding trafficking operations in plain sight. 6 a.m. Morning news broadcasts led with the story. Breaking, major human trafficking ring busted. 47 arrests across 6 states, 23 victims rescued, more locations under investigation. Corporate conspiracy uncovered. All started with one officer's medical knowledge and a teenager's seizure. 7 a.m. Officer Cooper arrived at the hospital to check on Tanya. He brought someone with him, his sister Emily, the brain tumor survivor whose experience had helped him spot the signs. "You two saved each other," Emily told Tanya. "My tumor taught James what to look for. Your tumor exposed their whole operation." 8 a.m. The social media narrative had completely transformed. Tanya strong, Cooper hero, the system worked, look closer. 9 a.m. 1 week later, Tanya's surgery was successful. The tumor was removed, benign as predicted. During her recovery, she started a nonprofit, Look Closer, dedicated to raising awareness about trafficking tactics. Officer Cooper received commendations from both the FBI and Atlanta PD, but he insisted on sharing credit with everyone involved, especially Tanya, whose strength and resilience helped break the case. The mall incident stopped. The trafficking ring was dismantled, but more importantly, the case changed how people looked at social media outcry and quick judgments. Epilogue. 1 year later, Tanya stood at a podium, addressing a conference on public safety. Officer Cooper sat in the front row. "What happened that night at Lenox Mall taught us all something," she said. "Sometimes the real story isn't what we first see. Sometimes it takes looking closer, thinking deeper, and remembering that heroes don't always look like what we expect." She touched the small scar behind her ear, a reminder of how a medical condition and a police officer's detailed knowledge had combined to save not just her life, but dozens of others. "The truth," she concluded, "is always worth waiting for."